Starting to get warmer around here in Massachusetts finally, after nearly 4 months of cold winter, going into April now almost. It's still very cold this morning and it was a rainy weekend. I want to share something that I really didn't talk about until I think the second video I posted on here. The main reason is I was just mostly focused on weekly updates, which were very minuscule, and also healthcare stuff at my hospital. My second video was regarding Benjamin Franklin was quoted as saying it's the responsibility of people like us to always question authority and its purpose, no matter how intimidating it may be or how dangerous it may be given the risks. A few months ago, I purchased a book that I really wanted to get for quite some time, and it's a book published by the late German philosopher Hannah Arendt called The Origins of Totalitarianism. And it really goes into amazing detail into the three phases of how authoritarian regimes kind of creep up during tough times in history. Her book mostly focused on the 20th century regarding the rise of Nazi Germany and the communist Soviet Union during the heights of World War II and the Cold War. And it's something I always was curious to know. I want to know how history and events that happened in the past is impacting me, impacting my community, and impacting us globally and internationally as well. It's important for us to learn from the mistakes of our past so we can continue to innovate and have a better future for not only ourselves, our future posterities as well. Unfortunately, in healthcare, we don't have a lot of people talking about these things, and I just kind of want to be somewhat different in explaining a lot of the information I've gotten from her book. History is very important, and I know our school system doesn't do a really good job in educating us, but regardless whether we like it or not, we are living history every single day. And who knows what's going to happen 1,000 years down the road? How are people in posterities then going to judge the actions we do? Anyways, back to the book. She talks about a lot of the history of how anti-Semitism started in Europe in the late 19th century and how the economic disasters during the Great Depression era, which was around the early 20th century, kind of spurred all these nationalistic and major political movements across much of Europe, which then later gave rise to colonial influences in the British and French empires, and then obviously into the Second World War up until the Cold War. I'm almost halfway done with the book, but I still had some interesting things that I've taken away as I've read it. Now, I've forgotten much of the details about the book, but nonetheless, it kind of gives me the sense that everything that Hannah has said has some relevance to our present day. And she kind of warns the reader in the sense that a lot of these events that have unfolded into these totalitarian regimes, they're always going to be existent in the sense of the ingredients needed to create these regimes will always be there, even in future generations. So it's not that it's something that happened in the past and everybody's going to learn from it and move on. These are very susceptible to the current era and actually what's going on right now in the U.S., especially with the Trump administration. It's kind of unfortunately making us go back to those times, which is kind of scary and unfortunate for a lot of people because they don't know how their lives are going to be portrayed next. So it's a really good historical book, and it kind of makes me reflect a lot about the events going on in my life and what events I can learn from it to make sure that I at least do my part to prevent atrocities like these from ever becoming existent again. Unfortunately, our world is growing more authoritarian and much more about power struggles and conflicts and disregard for humanity as a whole. And that's something that I don't want to see end up, but we're just living in that reality right now. We don't know where it's going to go, but I'm just kind of stating this is the obvious of what's happening. So her book really explains the history in the sense of all the ingredients that happened for totalitarian regimes to take place in the beginning and how those same ingredients can easily be passed down to future generations to restart this whole process of the famous saying that history always repeats itself. Anyways, that's all I wanted to share. Many thanks and cheers. want to mention this as well. Hannah, the author of the book, spent most of her life in Königsberg, which was the city part of Prussia before it was a country that was dissolved into modern-day Russia. And she spent most of her life there, but she got educated in the most elite German universities, in Berlin and Heidelberg. Now, obviously, during the Nazi regime's movement into power, she immigrated to the United States, and she eventually got naturalized here as a U.S. citizen. So she was able to actually escape much of the atrocities that happened during the Holocaust, because she came from a Jewish background, with her herself being Jewish. So it's kind of interesting to see her point of view and her really unbiased, almost technical smartness in really describing all these intricacies in the book. For those who haven't got the chance to read it, I really recommend it, because she really tries to explain it from a philosophical level rather than an emotional one. I mean, after all, she's a philosopher, so maybe that goes into the point. But I really have enjoyed it, and I really wasn't able to catch up a lot on the reading, especially during the beginning of the year, because I was preparing a lot for my exam set after my jobs and training. So my hope is that at the very least I can start to catch up more and hopefully finish the book sometime as I'm kind of progressing into the year. It's kind of crazy to say, it's April literally is going to start in 2 days from this recording, and it just felt like yesterday was January. So the year is going by really fast. Hopefully not too fast, as I really do want to enjoy my time here before life kind of puts me in another direction. Anyways, many thanks. Stay safe, and cheers.